This is the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino, and this week I'm joined by James and Miff as we cover all things Celtic. It's a massive week ahead for the club as they take on a fixture at Celtic Park which could all but seal a second successive title for Ange and his players. Sunday's result against Ross County made it 15 wins in the bounce, and the boys go into this week full of confidence, as you'd expect from a side on that kind of run. Miff, we're getting serious now. How are you feeling ahead of such a big week, and what's been your Celtic moment of the week from the week past?
Hello Tino, hello James, hello listeners and viewers. I'm feeling confident. I think the most important thing was we get 3 points. Performance wasn't necessarily too pretty at times, but as always they found a way. My moment of the week this week was Alejandro Bernabei's pile driver in injury time at Dingwall, just because I think it will mean so much to him and his potential progress as a Celtic player. I think it's fair to say his career's not really get started at Celtic. He's shown some glimpses of what could potentially be. I think there's been more frustration with him than potential to this point so far, albeit that, as always happens, that he seems to be quite a divisive figure. Some really backing him and saying they see the potential, others thinking that he might just not fit into the way Ange wants him to play. But goals bring players confidence, and Ange, speaking after the game, seemed to think that what we were seeing on the park was what they were seeing quite a lot in training and on the training field at Lennoxtown. So it was my moment of the week just because I think you saw how much it meant to him.
Yeah.
Got to play a big part in the celebrations and all those things, make him feel just even more part of the group, and hopefully see him kick on to bigger and better things now.
Are we going Alejandro rather than Alessandro, or any variation on that?
Alex,
Last
I think
Lady
the X
Gaga.
is pronounced.
Yeah.
Last Lady Gaga.
Last Lady Gaga, she
Don't
knows.
call my name, don't call my name, Alejandro.
If that's his name.
Well,
Moving on, James. 15 wins in the spin, unbeaten in 29 games domestically, and a real chance to put the league to bed on Saturday. Your thoughts in general and your Celtic moment of the week?
Yeah, they're in good form. Obviously we've been in good form for a year and a half now. Couple of minor slips and that's about it, which is phenomenal. Spoke about it with you two lads on the post match. It used to be that going to Dingwall after an international break was really, really tricky tie, and it was a tricky tie yesterday, but it wasn't daunting like it was in the past. And as much as it wasn't pretty at times, that's as much to do with your opposition as anything else. The stats tell you we were on it, albeit there was a couple of wee slips here and there in our own play. But yeah, delighted to come down the road with 3 points, 2 goals, clean sheet. Just sets you up perfect for Saturday, and I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Moment of the week is in a similar vein to Miff, but a shorter time scale. I haven't really seen as much from Mo as I'd like to have seen so far, particularly in the penalty taking stakes. But that his performance when he came off the bench yesterday, I thought was a real insight into what we could have in our hands here. I know we're going to debate a bit more about where he's at in his progress, but the turn he took, 60-yard ball from Joe Hart, takes it out there, spins the guy, and gets his shot away. Maybe the shot could be a wee bit better, but the actual play was, gave us a wee insight as to what's ahead. So that's my moment of the week.
There was a few things at play with the turn. So it was a young lad, I think Dylan Smith, that was up against him, and whether he's tried to get too tight or whatever, but himself's a young lad, and regardless who the defender is, to have the ability to turn like that, the ball's come 50, 60 yards, and it's unfortunate he never finished off with a goal, because it was a great piece of play, Miff.
Absolutely, and I think you're just seeing that increasing confidence in him. As the weeks go by, he's a presence, big unit, and again, if you listen to Ange talking about him and how he's performing in training, he's certainly doing the business. So just the kind of standards that no doubt the squad are setting for each other when they're training at Lennoxtown, we're actually seeing that borne out in the park now. So as far as those concerned, I think we've got real talent in our hands.
Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so let's take a look at what's coming up on this week's show. We'll get started with the big topic, and what else would we be covering this week than Saturday's crucial Glasgow Derby at Celtic Park. And we'll be looking specifically at 3 big calls that Ange has to make ahead of that one. We'll then move on to this week's Mystery Celt, where the lads have opened up a bit of a gap at the top of the leaderboard with yet another correct guess last week. But on that note, Miff, I've made this week's a bit trickier as a result, so let's see how you guys do. After that is this week's listener's question, and it's a question that's been doing the rounds in general amongst fans following the recent international break. And finally, we'll close out this week's show by bringing you something which we think you'll enjoy from this week in Celtic media. Okay, let's get the ball rolling with the week's big topic. So Celtic head into Saturday's Glasgow Derby 9 points and 27 goals to the good ahead of second place Rangers. A win would make that a 12-point lead with just 7 games remaining, and would almost certainly put an end to whatever slim hopes Rangers think they have of getting back into the title race. It's a huge game in the context of the season, and with it there are some huge calls for Ange to make ahead of the lunchtime kick-off. So on that note, here's what we think are those 3 key decisions for Ange and his coaching team as we look for the win, which should all but seal back-to-back Scottish Premiership titles. So call number 1, having made his first start in Celtic's midfield on Sunday, should Tomoki Iwata remain in the number 6 role for this one? Number 2, is it time to unleash Sead Haksabanovic? And number 3, as James leaned towards, O came off the bench and had a notable impact during the second half against Ross County, but is it mad to suggest there's a case for starting him ahead of top scorer Kyogo on Saturday? Miff, your initial response to these dilemmas and any other big calls you think Ange has to make for Saturday?
What was the first one?
The first one was Iwata in the 6.
Iwata in the 6. No, I would go McGregor.
Listen, we'll debate these. This is just your initial general summary.
For me, I would go McGregor, just tried and tested. Albeit I thought Iwata done really well. I would maybe be tempted to put McGregor back and play Turnbull.
Shocker.
Where?
Shocker. Turnbull's in. Anywhere.
Tell you what, we'll get to the finer bits of this. I'm just looking for your general summary on these 3 points and any other big calls. So
yep. O playing.
No, do the second one first.
Aye. Miff goes in order of 1, 3, 2.
Aye.
Keeps it fresh. Second one is,
as long as you're
is it
with the
time
first
for
one is.
Haksabanovic, Miff?
Yes, always time for Haksabanovic.
Always
I
time.
thought you'd just taken that as a given. Yes, it is. And
Haxers at Parker's and the Tenors.
O is a no for me. Oh, see what I did there. No, I would say no for O. I'm amusing myself here just now because Kyogo's just absolute different class. I think he had a frustrating time on Sunday, but there was reasons for that. Again, you'll need a strong ref on Saturday. Will we get one? Who knows? But for me, you have to start Kyogo based on just what he's done against him so far this season.
Yeah. James Miff clearly having a great wee time to himself over there, and we'll leave him just for now.
Laughing his own jokes.
I'm thoroughly enjoying myself.
However, James, a few weeks ago I'd say the team was pretty much picking itself, but a few injuries here and there have just disrupted things slightly, haven't they?
Disrupted is maybe a strong word. I suppose it's provided opportunities for others. Some aren't quite ready to take a first team berth. You know, you could see Amoy stepping back in, Hatati, etc. But others are. You know, others are really japping the door. Iwata being one of them. And my brief summary would be no to all 3 for different reasons at the moment.
Let's discuss those reasons shortly.
Exactly. But you've got my answers. No.
Yeah. So let's now look at the 3 big decisions in isolation. Miff, I know you're clearly keen to get into the debate. So just a reminder, James, number 1, having made his first start in Celtic's midfield on Sunday, should Tomoki Iwata remain in the number 6 role for this one? First of all, James, before we get into it, how do you think he done overall against Ross County on Sunday? There was obviously a big clamour amongst fans to see him get that start. Yeah,
I thought he did great, and it's what I've been expecting of him. You know, any glimpses we've seen of him so far this season have been really, really impressive. For me, Iwata is the player for next year when we're playing in Europe, when we're not going to be attacking as much, and he can genuinely be an anchor 6 rather than McGregor's kind of a Roman 6 when he gets the chance. So I thought he was brilliant on Sunday, but I think it's all about development. You know, that was probably a little early in the development plan for him to play on Sunday, but you know, personnel dictated that he had the opportunity, and he came through it with flying colours. I just don't think that's going to be the case on Sunday. I think Calmack will sit back in there.
Yeah, I suppose one of the big blockers, Miff, is it's a very different game and very different opposition. So doing well against Ross County is one thing. At home to Rangers, different atmosphere, you know, the different things at stake. It's a different challenge altogether for him. Yeah,
I think the temptations to go for the tried and tested in those situations. You know, Ange wouldn't be the first manager to do that in such a set of circumstances, but I think we can all be really happy with what we've seen from Iwata so far. I think it's that type of signing that we've felt what we've needed, and we've had a couple of signings like Ideguchi, in fact a few signings, Ideguchi, McCarthy and Abelgard, that haven't really quite worked out. I think in Iwata you can definitely see there is something there that's got to be there for a longer term. But in a game like Saturday's, you just go with Callum McGregor anchor in the midfield. I think would just leave every fan feeling very, very happy and secure. He knows how to play in these games. He's vastly experienced, and he just brings a terrific balance to the midfield. Not to say that he had a poor game in Sunday at all. I thought he played well, but for me, the way that the midfield's been set up this season and McGregor playing in that role, I just think that sees us at our best. Who comes in is really the next question after that.
Yeah, I wonder, just staying on Callum McGregor just now, I wonder, James, if the Celtic midfield just ticks a wee bit better just now with him in there. Listen, he spent the best part of 2 seasons playing that role for Ange, and it would seem an unusual call to make the change now ahead of what's such a big game.
I think Iwata's given us the flexibility to rotate McGregor, whether into an advanced role or for a rest. I know he doesn't like resting, but he's going to need it eventually. But I think if Iwata will be the future in there. I think that's going to be our starting number 6 next season, more often than not anyway. What it does restrict John on Sunday is, like I said, McGregor getting forward. Iwata sits tight and dictates playing. He's always available, but how many times have we seen McGregor pop up against Rangers in advanced roles from his 6th position? So I think it's more that than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, Miff, if it is Iwata in the 6 with McGregor further ahead like he was on Sunday, to the point you were leaning towards, who joins him? Lots of options there. The suggestions from Ange was that if Hatate and Moy didn't make the weekend there, they should be fit for Saturday's game. So based on that, with Hatate and Moy being available, as well as O'Reilly and your favourite, Dave Turnbull, what does he do? Who's the other option on this occasion?
I would imagine that if both Moy and Hatate are fit, they'll play.
In front of McGregor?
No, McGregor.
But
If Iwata plays, he'll play Hatate, in my opinion.
On the right?
If fit, yes.
And Moy sits out?
Yes.
Where do you think that fits, James?
I think that's probably right. I think, but Hatate does like to be on the left, I would say, of the 2 8s. That would be my choice. I mean, I think it's quite a far-fetched hypothetical. I think it is McGregor, Hatate, Moy. But if it was to be Iwata, McGregor, another, I think you can't leave guys like Hatate on the bench. You just can't.
Yeah, so give us purely what you think it'll be. Forget hypotheticals. McGregor in the 6, Hatate and Moy ahead.
Oh, aye, that's what I think it'll be.
Both coming right back in from out the cold, from injury. And you agree, Miff?
I would agree with that. Yep.
Yeah.
Albeit that I would
Turnbull and
Turnbull's
goalie, whatever. Aye.
Do you think at this moment in time, David Turnbull has played his way into being slightly ahead of Matt O'Reilly? He's still not firing on all cylinders, and I was impressed by Turnbull yesterday. I thought he'd done well. Do you think he's nudged his way back into contention?
I do. It's whether Ange does or not. I do. O'Reilly's just been a wee bit off it, but again, he set such high standards for himself because of how he played in his first season, and even at the start of this season was excellent as well. It just seems to be a wee bit of lull he's going through.
The goalie set up for Jota against Rangers. You know what I mean? That kind of vision and sharpness.
Yep. So
O'Reilly.
Yeah. I would say so, but you obviously know I'm a bit pro Turnbull. I just agree with James. The bottom line is, if Hatate's fit, he starts, because you just cannot leave a guy with that quality in the bench in a game like this.
I'd agree. I'd also agree on Moy, because I think he's shown, James, last time out, just how capable he is, in this game. It's unfortunate that he's sat out. It's a wee bit unclear what his injury has been. If not, maybe just a bit of fatigue, because he's played a lot of football in
oldness,
but he's played a lot of football in a fairly short space of time. But I think most fans would be happy if we go with the 3 you've suggested of McGregor, Hatate and Moy. So let's see how they're shaping up towards the end of the week. So I think in conclusion, for question 1, it's a no for Iwata at this moment in time. Maybe just a wee bit too soon for such a big change.
No for now. Yeah.
No for now. Question number 2. Miff, I'll come to you first. Is it time to unleash Sead Haksabanovic?
Yes.
Short and simple.
Yes, it is.
Listen, I think we all know he's got bags of talent, and he's been getting more and more game time recently. He played a couple of times for his country during the break. The one doubt for me is his general fitness and sharpness at this time. Ability-wise, when he's got the ball at his feet, no problem at all. But should Ange let him loose against Rangers at the expense of what would either be Jota or Maeda?
Who would you leave out?
It would be Maeda. Albeit that Maeda's industry, I think Ange just loves Maeda playing in these games because he keeps Tavernier sort of kind of wrapped up. I just don't see a situation ever where Ange would drop Jota, and I'm not actually asking for Jota to be dropped either. Again, these games tend to bring out the best in him. But if it was me, I would play Haksabanovic in front of Maeda.
on the right hand side with Jota on the left.
Yes. I just think, or if I know we're already clustered in the midfield for what we've said there, but I would just love him to go and play in the 10, but we'd need 12 players. I just think Haksabanovic is just something different. And just the level of quality that he'd bring in the final third, the assumption being that we would be dominating the ball and be in Rangers half more than they're going to be in ours. I think he just offers a bit more penetration than maybe Maeda, albeit that I'm not talking down Dyson Maeda whatsoever. I'm a huge fan of his. I just absolutely love Haksabanovic. It's just as simple as that. I just want to see him play more often. You could argue that maybe it's not the best time, putting him in. He just seems to have been an infrequent starter. He's played regularly in terms of coming off the bench and probably played quite a lot of cumulative minutes, but just hasn't really started a lot of games. Like he started that game at Hearts and then was brought off quite soon after half time. I'd just like to see him given a proper run, but he's also done a niggly time with injuries as well. But I just think there's a really, really special talent in there.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that. But I think as Miff says, James, Ange is Maeda mad, and when it comes to the crunch, he rarely drops him at all. See if you look at Maeda's numbers and starts since he came in, he plays more often than not, and particularly in the big games, whether it's against Rangers or in Europe. It'd be hard to see him dropping Maeda. He does. He nullifies Tavernier, whatever. He deals with him on the right hand side and just stops him getting forward. So that is as important as the offensive stuff that he brings to the party.
That's the reason why he'll start for me. He keeps Tavernier in that wee right back playpen, and he just doesn't get out yet. He's all over him. That goal he scored in the last game, that was all about pressing Tavernier and stuff like that. Just really, really sharp. He gives us as much in there as he does. That's where our defending starts. And against Rangers, if you nullify their wingers, you've pretty much got the start of chaos ball sorted, and that's it. So Haksabanovic coming off the bench with anything 20, 25, 30 minutes to go, terrifying. So he's probably in the same box as Iwata for me. He's going to be a first team starter, not now, and probably not till the start of next season, but he's just the talent everyone likes to see. He's a classic Celtic player, gets you up off your seat, just absolute maverick, does amazing things with the ball. So he'll play his part for sure on Saturday, but it'll be off the bench.
Yeah. He could have grabbed a couple of goals in the League Cup final when he came off in similar circumstances.
He's fitness showed there.
Yeah, so what did he get? Maybe 20, 25 minutes that day, and he had a couple of chances, particularly the one where he's come through and put it wrong side of the post. So he's a real threat, and if by that point, Rangers are tired out from the various, running about they'll need to do to try and regain possession, he could be really important at that stage in the game.
Yeah, absolutely will, and Ange knows that, and he knows he's got that threat to deploy. So even if, let's all be silly for a while, let's say we're behind, bringing him off the bench to get you back in it, or to win it, yeah, you keep that in your pocket.
In terms of Jota, he's already shown that he's a big game player, and he's had a couple of big goals against Rangers, least of all the one in the 4-0 win, which is right up there by my favourite ever goals against Rangers. And he's just shown that he's got it in these occasions. Again, it would be surprising to see him miss out on this occasion.
Aye, it's just not likely to happen. I think it's important that players gain Ange's trust. And then the players that we've mentioned, unfortunately for Haksabanovic, Ange trusts both those wingers implicitly in the biggest games. So it's really, really hard to kind of crowbar your way into the starting lineup when Ange is pretty much settled and saying, these two, I can rely on them because they can do both things that I want them to do. The great thing about Haksabanovic is I think he can play in other positions as well. He can probably drop into midfield and play in a central position as well. So you can utilise him in different ways coming off the bench. But for me, I just think that the time is hopefully going to come very soon where we'll see him for a number of games and just get to watch what I believe is somebody very special.
Yeah, I think so. So I think very similar there to the question about Iwata. Really fond of Haksabanovic. We think he's a real talent, but maybe just too soon to get the start just yet. So again, we'll wait and see. And decision number 3 for Ange. So O came off the bench, had a notable impact during the second half against Ross County. But is it crazy to suggest there's a case for starting him ahead of 26-goal Kyogo Furuhashi?
Absolutely not. No. I mean, Miff just references the players that Ange trusts. He trusts Kyogo more than any of them.
With his life.
With his life, whatever kind of thing. Just that I would say Kyogo's the first name in the team sheet for Ange. She's like, well, that's the striker sorted, let's sort out the rest kind of thing. O is, starting to impress and starting to move down his development journey. Sunday was a big showing for that. It's just, I suppose even if he was at absolute peak, I don't think Ange is going to pick the Giakoumakis. I know O's got more than Giakoumakis, although I love Giakoumakis against Rangers. He had some, lengthy games against him because Kyogo got injured early. They don't know how to handle him. They don't know how to handle that physicality. But same as the argument for Haksabanovic. You saw it on Sunday. Jakovic was getting change out of Kyogo. His physicality, O came on, just cemented him the first minute. It just really, really changed up the dynamic there.
They can't handle the physicality of a Giakoumakis or an O, but they also can't handle the movement of Kyogo. So
absolutely.
Damned if they do, damned if they don't. Is that what you're telling me?
Just damned.
Damned.
Yeah.
I like it. Miff, I'm kind of asking this question. I think we're all going to have the same answer here, right? I think we're all going to be Team Kyogo and all that stuff. But I'm asking the question because it's doing the rounds. There's a lot of folk online, a lot of folk on Twitter. Not based solely on those performances. You can't have a 20-minute cameo against Ross County and then get pitched into one of the biggest games of the season. But there are fans who are genuinely calling for it, so I think it's important to debate that. Kyogo was kind of quiet at the weekend. He missed that big chance after an hour or so, whatever it was. And then O comes on and gets really involved. He's got a couple of snap efforts that Laidlaw does well to save. He's got the turn that we've spent half this episode talking about. And he was just very involved, but it would just seem, again, too early in his time at Celtic to be displacing someone like Kyogo.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the small caveat you could make to that point is that James touched on it there. Ange was so willing to play Giakoumakis against Rangers, and I know there was a couple of injuries involved there, but there was another couple of times when Giakoumakis did start in big games, not just Rangers. He started for that physical presence. So there's just been a different approach this season to last season. Last season changes were fairly regular. There's just a lot more solidity to the starting lineup now, and it tends to stay the same, maybe with the odd change in either central midfield or out wide. That's about it. So going on last season, it was a perfectly reasonable question to ask, to debate who would start, and I know it was relatively new, but it's the same type of swap, either the movement of Kyogo or the sort of strength and physicality of O. I just think Kyogo's shown that his movement really, really bothers Rangers when he's played centrally, and I just see a continuation of that on Saturday. I don't think for any, I'm not saying that being complacent, I'm just saying based on the past few games where we've played Rangers, you just see their defensive line struggle to keep tabs on him. The way that our combination play works means that he's always going to be in the game, expect us to dominate the ball when we're home to Rangers. It's a game that's kind of set up for Kyogo, in my opinion, albeit that as we've seen in the League Cup final, with O coming off the bench against tired legs, the likes of him, Haksabanovic, running at the defence, it will create opportunities and will be very dangerous in the break.
James, you've mentioned Giakoumakis, and I'd be keen to ask you lads how you think Giakoumakis and O compare based on the relatively short involvement we've seen from O in a Celtic shirt so far. The general opinion seems to be that O has more strings to his bow. He's got a different skill set, to offer. Giakoumakis, extremely effective, scored plenty of goals for Celtic, joint top scorer in the league last season, and off he goes with everyone's best wishes. But how do you compare the two?
I think Giakoumakis is meaner.
Meaner?
I think he's just
a nastier piece of work.
In a very positive way, in a Sutton style,
Nasty in a nice way.
Yeah, nasty in a nice way, that's the way to put it. And I don't think O's the nicest guy as well. He likes to get involved, but it's more of a fair Queensberry contest. I think Giakoumakis would use anything. I really like Giakoumakis, and sorry to see him go, but definitely the right time for him to go. With 100% has way more than Giakoumakis. Giakoumakis is physical, between the post striker, take him outside the box, and it was quite clumsy and scrappy. I think O can build stuff and be a bit more supplementary to the midfield there and to the other two forward guys. So it gives us a bit more breadth in the team than Giakoumakis. So definitely, if you look at all, if you were going to be like a scout, it'd be ticking way much more than Giakoumakis.
I can't remember who made the comparison, but it was someone back in South Korea that suggested O also had the capability to play out wide. He's got a bit more to offer and maybe better with the ball at his feet than Giakoumakis. Giakoumakis was famed for this one-touch finish, of however many goals he scored for Celtic. 90% plus for just, one touch and hitting the net. Both lads, Miff, have got Fairly impressive six packs, it's fair to say. Where do you stand on that? Who's more ripped?
Hey, I'm going for Big GG for that. Very impressive. With O, he's younger, he's rawer, so there's a bit more development that we can do there, whereas Giakoumakis was slightly older, albeit
Good
that
builder.
he was just getting established in the Greek national team at the time when he signed for us.
He's only got about 7 caps, something like that.
So it obviously helped raise his profile by moving to Celtic, albeit they've been top goal scorer in the Dutch league. He's certainly staked his claim for that. So Giakoumakis, for whatever reason, he's obviously tried it on in terms of getting more money. The way he's went about it's not been right. O's come in, just looks so hungry, willing to learn, and it's then just all about that mentality, the type of player that Ange wants in his squad. Giakoumakis has hinted at that, not been happy, and just that's it, bang, gone.
Yeah.
So it's obviously he's been used as an example. I don't really have an issue with that. You need everybody singing off the same hymn sheet. And I think with O, there's just a lot more room for development there, and that's just what Ange loves, getting those types of players that are young, hungry, with a point to prove, want to learn, getting them on the training field, honing them in the style that he wants to play. And I think you're starting to see the benefit of that now, in that he's getting more aligned with the way the team want to play and just that physical threat that he carries. He's also very mobile as well. Again, in terms of I think we've got a lot to look forward to there.
I think so as well, and I think his enthusiasm is a real breath of fresh air, isn't it? He's so hungry to impress, time after time. You've seen how delighted he was at getting that goal against Hibs that made it 2-1 a few weeks ago now. He's just buzzing to be involved. I think he realises it's a huge club. This is a huge step for a guy at any stage in their career, but at 21 years of age, it's such an opportunity for him to put himself onto a big European stage, if not a global stage, if he starts to really impress and really improve. And he's clearly enjoying life at Celtic.
He is. He's a real team player, and that's the thing that, Giakoumakis was never going to be around for long, because that's not his thing, and that's fine. Strikers very commonly have, an arrogant, selfish attitude. It can be the way. Single-minded, really focused on, success. And we got a lot of success from that over the years with the likes of Sutton and players of that ilk. O is a real team player. He's involved in all the celebrations. You see, there's one yesterday, Jotta's getting ready to take a corner, but there was somebody tying up his shoelaces or something. And O's standing with his arm on the corner flag, just chatting away to Jota before the corner.
Just shooting the breeze.
Just give him a couple of tips maybe and stuff. But you can tell he's really enjoying it. But I think Miff's right. There's a lot of development to come. Yesterday was the first time I really saw it, and I'm seen it in flashes before. Seen a lot of clumsiness as well. And it's just saying, well, less of that and more of that, and that'll become more consistent as he develops.
Yeah, I feel a wee bit like that after yesterday. I was just really quite pleased with it. There is always the suggestion that Ange could look to play them both together, but he's highly unlikely to deviate from the tried and tested to do so. But he did accommodate that for about 20 minutes against Hibs. So Celtic were chasing the game at that point, and he brought O on after about half an hour. And him and Kyogo were on at the point when O scored his goal. So Ange isn't afraid to try it maybe at some stage in the game if needed.
I think that's 3-5-2 kind of moves when you're not going to come up under much pressure at the back. You're pushing up a wee bit. So online, some people there's someone describing people wanting the two up top as 4-4-2 fetishists. It's a bit strong maybe, but I don't think it happens off the team sheet for Ange. It happens in game maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen, but it could happen if we're chasing the game at some point. But it should all be a lot calmer than that. Let's hope we're not chasing any sort of game. If I suppose the conclusion, it might be the same as the other guys. So whether it's Iwata, Haksabanovic or Oh, it seems that they're going to have a serious impact at Celtic Park, but maybe just too soon for Saturday.
Yeah, probably, but again, they'll still have an impact coming off the bench. And just when you mentioned the Hibs game there, what a header that is.
Yep.
Oh, it's a belter. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, James, too soon for these three fellas?
Yeah, but they're all progressing nicely on their journeys.
Yeah, and it's good to see. So, these questions, amongst others, will be giving Ange and his coaching team plenty to consider over the next few days up at Lennoxtown. But whatever he goes with on Saturday, I think most of us by now have confidence that he'll make the right calls, and hopefully we get the result that sets us up for yet another title win. We'll be providing a special extended match preview on Friday over at the Celtic Exchange Plus, where we'll cover everything you need to know ahead of the big game. And if you don't already subscribe, then you can enjoy that one as part of your free 7-day trial by getting started at the celticexchange.com/sign up. Okay, let's move on to this week's Mystery Celt, and we'll start with a quick reminder of last week's Mystery Celt for anyone who missed it. So clue number 1, will I do clue 1, 2 and 3 or 1, 3, 2, what order suits you best?
Reminder what clue 1 is first, and then 3, and then 2.
Right, we'll do that. Clue number 1, I finally retired from football in summer 2020 after a 24-year professional career. Clue number 2, after 5 years at Celtic, I then played for 2 teams in the English Premier League. And clue number 3, during my spell at Celtic, I never scored for the club. That was a bit cheeky, Miff. I accept that I've put that one in there. But the answer, of course, was Artur Boric. Miff, if you're talking Celtic cult heroes, then Boric falls firmly into that category. Your thoughts on the holy goalie?
Oh, loved him. Loved him. Absolutely loved him. What a guy. What a guy. Even when he did end up going away one summer and coming back about 2 stone overweight, still loved him. Still loved him. Just the man can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Love him.
James, I'll give you a wee bit of a recap on him if you don't already remember. So signed for Celtic in July 2005, an initial loan deal from Legia Warsaw, which ended up being extended, and he was at the club for almost 5 full years. His final appearance was a 2-1 win over Rangers in May 2010, and loads of big moments for Celtic. So most will remember the 2 saves in the penalty shootout against Spartak Moscow, which qualified us for the Champions League. That was in 2007-2008 season. He also saved Louis Saha's penalty in the Champions League the season before as we beat Man United 1-0, and loads of other stuff on the park. There's all sorts of stuff off the park, allegedly, and I'm not going to get into that, get myself in trouble. Overall, he won 3 league titles, 2 League Cups, 1 Scottish Cup during his time, and then he moved on, playing for the likes of Fiorentina, Southampton and Bournemouth, before returning to where it all started at Legia Warsaw. James, fond of the big rascal?
Loved him. Same as Miff. Bit of the last of the Mavericks, you know. And he came under a lot of pressure from various quarters in Scotland about, well, just blessing yourself because
it's not a crime, James.
I've no idea, you know. One to pick out was his penalty goal. Was it Dundee United he scored against Zaluska, maybe?
Yeah, so obviously he didn't score in open play, but this penalty.
Oh, what a penalty, man. You know, just absolutely
top
corner. To quote the phrase.
You can imagine me, a bag of nerves, sitting watching that penalty shoot, and the big man's went and wrapped one into the top corner. My mate, Big Benny, shout out to Big Benny, said that the Saha penalty save is the loudest in all his years that he's heard Celtic Park, even for goals or anything. He said that's the loudest noise he's ever heard.
Yeah,
attention.
I seen it played back. So James, you're going to get to this week in Celtic media a bit later on, but one of the clips that was shown in the media clip that you highlight is that penalty save, and he doesn't just save it, he gets serious distance on it. So if you remember, he dives to his right hand side, Boric's right hand side, and he palms the thing about 25, 30 yards away.
It's a way out past the 18-yard box, yeah.
It's a big save. So great player, great character. He played in the Legends game just last weekend as well, so he's obviously still very fond of Celtic. And we went out to Warsaw, was it during lockdown-ish? He had this kind of testimonial. You look puzzled, James.
I thought you meant I did. I didn't
no, I was not at that game.
I thought you were last. We used doing lockdown trips to Poland.
Don't tell Mum.
Aye, very good.
Going to get ourselves in a wee bit of bother here. No, Celtic went to Warsaw, I think, where they played Legia, of course, in a testimonial type game. So yeah, he's a guy who was clearly fond of his time at Celtic, and likewise the fans were so fond of him. Okay, let's move on to this week's Mystery Celt. As always, the first 10 people who reply with the right answer to the Mystery Celt on our Twitter page win a month completely free of the Celtic Exchange Plus. To take part, just visit our Twitter page right now at Celtic Exchange, and you'll see the clues posted there in our pinned tweet, and good luck to everyone taking part. Okay, so the score is now 7-5 to you lads, I believe.
7-5.
Try to kid on, I can't remember the score. Is it 7-5 to you?
Bit of a gap.
Aye, that's right, 7-5, mate. 7-5.
I know you always are, Miff, but are you ready for this week's Mystery Celt?
Absolutely
ready. Clue number 1. Having retired from playing, I'm now a coach at FC Midtjylland. Clue number 2.
He's going right out here.
No, it's not too obscure. Clue number 2. I signed for Tony Mowbray's Celtic in a deal in excess of £1 million.
Jos Højfeldt.
Jos Højfeldt, I think you'll find, but it's not him.
Joe Lingeberger.
No, that's later.
Thomas Rogner.
No, none of the above. Good guesses though. And clue number 3. I have 13 caps and 4 goals for my country. So while the lads are having a wee think about that one, I want to give listeners a short reminder of the additional content we provide over at the Celtic Exchange Plus. We produce extra pre- and post-match podcasts for every Celtic game, and with a big week in store, we'll have a special extended match preview this week ahead of the Rangers game, as well as our match reaction show shortly after the final whistle. We also recorded a fascinating show on data and football last week, which is available now. And we've got another good show coming up this midweek featuring Celtic authors Matthew Marr and Matt Corr, who are discussing a really interesting new book covering Celtic's first ever title win. If you haven't already subscribed, you can experience the Celtic Exchange Plus right now, absolutely free with our 7-day trial. Simply visit thecelticexchange.com/sign up to get started and to enjoy all the additional content we'll be offering there this week. We've got options starting at just $1.50 a month, so if you enjoy what we do and want to hear even more from us across the week, then visit thecelticexchange.com/sign up now. What you got?
We're in struggles.
Struggles.
Remind us, just give us a wee recap of the old clues.
Okay, just a recap. Number 1, having retired from playing, I'm now a coach at FC Midtjylland. Number 2, I signed for Tony Mowbray's Celtic in a deal in excess of $1 million. And number 3, I've got 13 caps and 4 goals from my country.
Not be Derby, Seth.
It's not.
No,
You've definitely veered into extra time. So I'm going to call it.
What?
Danny Fox.
I'm going to call it, but I can give you a couple of wee extra clues which
On you
might
go.
kind of tip it. So he's a coach at FC Midtjylland. He's a striker coach, a forward coach there, which would tell you what kind of player he was. And maybe he's back in his homeland doing that.
Is it Thingy? No.
Correct. But out of time, I'm afraid.
No, you had that.
I
Yeah,
did,
I
I did,
had
I
that.
did say that. I did say
Just
that.
shout it out. You're allowed to be in a guess you want.
So,
I did say it. So
So
that is
8-5, really?
8-5.
Aye.
Aye.
8-5, really? But really?
No,
7-6.
I did say Rasmussen, didn't I?
I need to tell him, but
Aye, but he was talking, he was doing his intro. I can't just shout it out.
I need to
Anyway,
roll back
lads,
the tape, see if it was
Just,
right.
8-5. 8-5.
just to
leave me hanging.
confirm, the
8-5.
score is now 7-6.
8-5.
Remember, if you think you know the answer to this week's mystery cell and want to win a month free of the Celtic Exchange Plus, then simply reply to our pinned tweet at Celtic Exchange using the hashtag mystery cell. Need to be quicker, Miff. Need to be quicker.
I said it.
No joy.
We need a clock. We need a genuine clock.
I said it. Dave saw me saying it.
No comment.